So we're about 5 after, shall we get going? All right then. So just diving right in, Denise, how is the VL3 NSE going? Denise, did we lose you?
Do you hear me now?
I hear you now.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So, sorry, I got problems with my microphone. VL3 stuff is going well. Currently, I have a working setup with one VL3 NSE, but 2 or more VL3 NSEs currently are not stable. I see data path issues. I guess I made some regress when I add IPAM service into exist code. So I'm looking into that.
Okay, so to make sure I understand correctly, it's that you can see with multiple VL3 NSEs things working. It's just that they're not working stably, correct?
Yes, it's working stably only for one VL3 NSE currently.
Okay, so but that's good, because in my hierarchy, well, not good, but in my hierarchy of the world, there's not working at all, working but not stable, and then working and stable. So we're sort of in the middle tier right now, where we're working but unstable when it comes to multiple VL3 NSEs. So progress.
Yes, I think I'll get something probably stably working for end of the week.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate it. Anything you need in terms of sort of help at this point?
I think nope.
Okay. And then I know we don't have Artem today. He was looking at the WireGuard fail after NSM system restart.
Also, do you share a screen?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not sharing my screen. I should be sharing my screen. Let me do that. Cool. Can you see my screen?
Now, yep.
Excellent. All right. Apologies. Thank you for pointing that out. So on the improving stability pieces, so we've got this WireGuard issue that's still outstanding. Is that still out there?
As I know, it's not reproducing when we fix it registry healing, but we are still keep eyes on it.
Okay, that's good. And then he still needs some feedback on the conditional healing of the data path. All right. And then NSM Calico VVP integration.
As I know, we have a few problems here. The first problems is related to unstable tests. That it's line 66 and 67.
Okay.
These tests currently are unstable, and currently we are planning to not run feature suite for Calico. And provide.
Do you have a notion of why they're unstable?
For DNS test, we have something strange. As I know, DNS is working perfectly, and we can resolve some domain to IP. But when we start ping as resolved IP, it's return an error, and we currently not look into that deeply. So by some reason, ping is not working, but DNS is working correctly. And also, if we ping NSE by IP directly without DNS, it's working good. So it's something strange, and it's possibly related to Calico.
Okay, so we'll and then there's, so do you happen to know what's going on with the policy-based routing that would lead to, let's see what the issue is on Calico VP on the VPP data plane. Oh, this is actually the DNS issue.
Yes, as I know, it's the same problem here. Something similar with as we see in DNS test.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So basically, all right.
We're planning to provide Calico setup without feature tests, and after that, start look into these problems.
Okay. No, I appreciate it. That's good.
All right. Also, as I know from Artem, he faced with problems with tagging interfaces, and he also asked me to ask you about can we implement tag healing separately. So let me explain. We can start with healing that just closes interfaces on chain context done. It should cover most of cases.
Well, but more importantly, and this is where we know from the upgrade stuff, it effectively, if we just close all interfaces on being shut down, it doesn't end up being actually any worse than the internal VPP case, right? So it may be actually. Go ahead.
Yes, we need tag healing that we discussed at previous meeting only for cases when pod is restarting with the same name. So upgrade case, as we check it, is deleting previous pod and creating another one with the name with a new name. And I think tag healing is not super popular case. It's only can be reproduced only when we got an panic or fatal issue in the
Yep. No, I absolutely, I totally get it. So yeah, let's start with the on a clean shutdown. We'll start by deleting, basically closing everything on clean shutdown. As sort of the first place we start with there is probably a good first pass, and then the tag-based healing. I think you're right. It's sort of the niche case where we, the forwarder crashes and then restarts in the same container, right? So we've got the same pod name.
Yep. We definitely need to cover all possible cases, but our point is make it separately. So at first we can provide Calico integration without this functionality, and after that add it.
It's definitely a good way to split the problem into pieces. I agree.
Okay, so that's it from Artem's side.
I appreciate you filling in for Artem today. And then let's see. So on the release mechanics, it looks like Nikita is very nearly done with that.
Yep, I did not look at PRs yet. We will do it. And also Nikita is working with mutually aware NSCs. As I know, currently he's testing the case when we have a few endpoints with different network services, but those endpoints are grouped into one group. And Nikita is checking that everything is working as expected from a data path view. So it's in progress.
Yep. Got it. All right. So, all right then. So that's good. That's in progress.
Also, Ed, can we discuss about example for mutually aware NEC?
Sure. Actually, we've got the right people on the call for it, because Lionel probably has a better sense of the example that would make sense. Do you have some simple example in mind that we could use there?
Not really. Is it the thing about the IPAM, right?
Yeah, it's basically the thing where, we decided that two network service endpoints are mutually aware, and so it's perfectly acceptable for them to have overlapping IP spaces, right, for both routes and for the IPAM that's assigned.
Right. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure about this, because for now we have our own IPAM, and yeah, we can do whatever we want with it.
Well, no, but keep in mind that this is not so much about the IPAM. This is about the fact that by default, the network service client will add any of the IP addresses, any of the prefixes from one network service to the exclude prefixes for the next network service it requests. So you had a use case, if I recall, where you wanted to have a common VIP that you assign to multiple NSC side interfaces. And without mutually aware NSCs, that actually will not be permissible. You'll be prevented because we don't want IP space collision. Does that make sense?
Right, yes.
So maybe the way to actually test this is just your case is to assign a VIP. And maybe the way to test this is just to, pick a VIP as a /32 and just assign it out from two different NSCs as a secondary IP on the interface that they're creating. Does that make sense?
Right, yes.
So that makes sense to you. And now I need to check and make sure all that made sense to Denise.
Yeah, but I mean, probably Leif or Tariq or Johan may know more about this, because yeah, I'm not sure exactly what is the future plan for this.
Okay. So, I mean, we can start with this, and then you can check in with them and see if that is an acceptable sort of test, because we're not trying to recreate your entire use case. We're just trying to make sure that this constituent part is going to work for you. And I think the constituent part is you wanted to be able to assign a VIP, a secondary VIP IP to multiple interfaces in the same pod coming from different network service endpoints. So did that make sense to you, Denise?
Yep. Can we also somehow describe the use case in the probably issue discussion?
Sure, that's actually a good idea. Do we have a link here to the issue?
Give me a second.
Actually, we do have a link to the issue. Yes. Here.
Oh, yep.
Okay. So I'll take a note to add that.
Yes, that's correct issue. It would be nice if we can describe here a use case that we need to check.
Yep.
I thought about use case based on VIP routing, where we have a few NECs, and we are checking that we can transfer different traffic for them. For example, we can transfer only UDP packets on the one NEC, or we can transfer only TCP traffic to the second NEC.
I think that gets to more to the policy-based. I think that gets more to the policy-based routing stuff.
Yes.
Than the mutually aware NSCs.
Yes.
So
Yes, in short, I thought about use this example as base, but make a collision for NECs.
Okay, so let's take that offline to the issue. I've got a note to go pipe up there. So Lionel, Sislard, is there? Do you guys have other stuff? I think, by the way, are we through the spreadsheet here, Denise?
Yes.
Cool. So Lionel, Sislard, do you have other things that you wanted to dive into in this call?
Yeah.
I think Lionel will tell it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He's gone.
I saw Dennis here review this IP context merge in the begin chain pull requests, and yeah, probably Ed, you will have to have some comments on this. And Dennis, you said tests should be needed for this begin component, but I have no idea how to write this test, and I'm not exactly sure what I should do about this.
Related to tests, I know that we have tests for begin chain element in the begin package. I guess you can look at them and probably make something based on these tests, but with changing IP context, for example.
Yeah, so just really quickly, just to sort of run through it here, if we go look at the begin chain element, we have a bunch of tests there that sort of test to make sure that begin is behaving the correct way. And if in fact, and so the proper merge behavior is probably, if we're changing it, is something we should probably check in a test.
Yes, I think we can look into serialized boss test. I guess it's super correct example.
It is a very correct example, but it's also a stress test, which is interesting. It turns out if you really want to believe yourself about concurrency, you need to beat the hell out of it in the hopes that it will race for you. But yeah, you can sort of see it's relatively simple how to go ahead and set up the chain element, and then just making calls on it in the test. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Just also, I was not sure if this pull request was correct. Like, I completely replaced the IP context, but maybe I don't know if
I need to go take a look at it. The reason I haven't quite gotten to it yet is I need to go actually sync back into all the logic about why the merge is done the way the merge is done, to be sure about sort of the change that you're suggesting. And for me, that means I've got to go back through some of the code around there and get my head back into that space. It's sort of like swapping things in from disk, if you will.
I see. Okay. No problem.
So it's not that I'm ignoring you, it's that every time I sit down and get 15 minutes into the process, some interrupt pops. So
yeah, no problem. But yeah, I don't think this is so urgent, because still I can compile my project with modify SDK to allow this, because it's the problem I have, it's only in the client chain element. So it's okay. So it's not I have to modify the NSMGR or something like that.
Yeah, I'm delighted that it actually is a simple thing for you to carry as a small fork for a little while, but I'd like to get it resolved as quickly as we can, because I don't like people to have to do that. You want systems that are easy to handle in the way you're handling them, and you want to make it so people don't have to. So, okay, cool.
And otherwise, there's 2 new pull requests from the thing we discussed last week during the community meeting, which was about the policy routings. One is.
Could you drop links to them into the chat? Could you drop the links into them in the chat?
Yeah, I will try to do that.
Perfect. I suspect you've got one against API.
Yeah,
And then you were gonna do
API
one
and
in
the
SDK.
SDK kernel, I think.
Okay, so there's the API.
Oh yeah, it's about the changes we discussed last week. We wanted to see the proto, sorry, and the destination and source port as string instead of integer.
Yep.
And now
Yep.
it's also yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so, sorry. Yeah, and it also supports the the port range. But I try to compile everything, and I'm still getting an error when I'm trying the port and the protocol.
Are you
So
getting a compiler or are you getting a runtime error?
Runtime.
Okay.
If I keep the protocol and the port empty, it's fine. But it's when I'm trying to do something with them.
Okay, and that error is currently what's showing up in the CI for build and test, correct?
No, because I'm not sure how to do that with this multi-repo thing, because in the SDK kernel pull request, I cannot modify the Go mode, right? Because the API change are not merged.
Oh, yes. Okay. No, you're absolutely right. That is absolutely going to be a thing. Could you attach to, I presume, if you could attach something about the error you're getting to the IP rule piece, that would be very, very helpful, because that way we can go take a look at the error. Because what I think you're saying is that you're getting some weird runtime error where something is going wrong, but seeing the error would help a lot.
Yeah, I sent a private message to Denise on Slack yesterday because I was not even sure. I think I'm good in the compilation, but I'm not exactly sure because I have to link to do this replace in every Go mode file, and I have to replace it in the registry, the NSMGR, and the folder. So yeah, it's a bit complex, I think, to compile everything.
Okay, so I mean, it also may be that it also may be that things that are overly complex. Because, for example, like I wouldn't expect the registry to care. I wouldn't expect the registry to care.
Right.
So,
but at least the NSMGR and the folder, I think they are important.
Very likely. The folder, definitely. The NS manager, it's possible that might not be the case for the NS manager. But I would need to go back and look at how Golang handles sort of incompatibilities for things. The reason I mention that is I don't think the NS manager ever goes rooting around in the policy, the IP rule or the policy-based routing part of the IP context. And so it may not even notice, because by default, if you get fields that you don't understand, you just ignore them. But yeah, attach your error, and we will.
I sent it in the SDK kernel pull request. I just created a message. Yeah, it's all candidates have failed, and there's some other errors. But yeah, not exactly sure. And a second error I get is when I'm trying without the protocol and without the port. I'm having a strange thing. Like I have 4 targets, 2 nodes, 2 Kubernetes nodes. Sorry, 4 network sales client and 2 worker nodes, and only 2 network sales client are receiving the policy rules. But this I just noticed today, but I will try to investigate more on this. And so far, I haven't seen any error. Just I don't see the rules in 2 of the 2 network lanes.
All right. So we'll definitely want to take a look at this and see what we can do to get you a hand. And then the other one is, and we can sort of take this conversation to Slack because we're about to go into the community meeting, is sort of figure out what the minimal shell of things that you need to do to actually try this out gets to be. I know one of the things that I had typically done if you go look at the command forwarder VPP, you'll notice that it has a whole lot of stuff where it's basically just doing testing, sort of very local testing in command forwarder VPP, because this lets me go through and actually test that the basic data path stuff is working just with the forwarder. So that might be worth looking at as well to see if there's some reasonable way to add a test there just to get yourself some sense that the basic stuff is working. It is now time for us to go to the community call. Anything else before we adjourn?
No, thanks.
Talk to you later.